Bruges is full of tourists in all seasons, but in summertime a visitor has a unique pleasure of watching the city from Canals level. We have been happy to have a chance of the tour by boat.
Ja, good to see. Thank you very much. Thank you.
He's gonna give you this side piece, sir. Welcome on board. Thank you.
Beautiful day. So my name is Mark. I'm going to be your captain and tour guide here on the beautiful canals of Bruges for the next 30 to 35 minutes, if everything goes well, of course. 10% loss is normal. You guys will see in 20 minutes. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start by telling you that Bruges used to be part of France back in the days. This used to be Burgundy over here. Here after the bridge on your right hand side, you will still see a little souvenir from the French, our local fish market, still in use every Wednesday and Saturday. During the weekends and the holidays, it's also an open air art gallery for young local artists. So here on your right, our local fish market, a little souvenir from the French. Don't get your hopes up though, we only have one fishmonger left anymore. Sad American. And then here in front of us, ladies and gentlemen, very important. This is the oldest bridge in town. It's called the May Bridge. It dates back to the 12th century and is ready to collapse any day now. So every time we pass through, we are lucky people. For me, it's 10 times a day, Russian roulette over here. So everybody, fingers crossed now. So the name of the river here in Bruges, this is called the Reie. Reie is an ancient Viking word and it means holy water. We have about 16 kilometers of water inside the city center. On the boat tour, we will do about 3 kilometers. Water is between 1 and 3 meters deep. It's all fresh water and we have plenty of fish. Eels, carps, piranhas, you name it, we got it.
Piranhas.
Oh, very big one. On your right you see the house with the red door and the red windows. This is House Pelican. It was built in the 17th century by the rich to give to the poor people to live in for free. And nowadays it's a very expensive bed and breakfast. And then here in front of us you see the little Baroque style church of Saint Anna. On the outside nothing special, on the inside though it's one of the most beautiful churches here in our city. Here in front of us the little Baroque style church of Saint Anna. The big white building, this is the Post-University College of Europe. So this is the place where they form the future economists and politicians in Europe. And until now, I reckon they didn't do a very good job. Also, the French President Macron went to college over here, so that explains a lot. Example of the typical staple houses, typical for the lowlands. So also in Ghent, Antwerp or Amsterdam you will find houses like these. Here in Bruges they were all built between the 16th and the 18th century. The official name is Flemish Gothic style. And if you look here on your right above the windows, the gate and the door, you see the ugly faces. It was to keep the bad spirits out. They were very superstitious back then. Connection on the water with the North Sea. about 16 kilometers straight ahead. So it were the French back in the days who dug out bigger and deeper canals, allowing bigger boats to come in and out of the old harbor. So thank you very much, the French. Is behind us. We're gonna enter the old harbor now. So you have to imagine here back in the days it was packed with boats. Big boats, big business. And obviously the bridges were built afterwards. The beautiful building in front of us with the little tower on top, this is called the Porters Loge. This was actually one of the very first stock markets in Europe. So inside this building people could invest in the goods that came in and out of the old harbor, and it was also the meeting point for the traders that came from all over Europe. In the Porters Loge they could discuss the prices of their goods. This used to be the Dutch quarter, the Spanish way on your left, the Portuguese right behind the corner to your left, and the Italians in the street right in front of us. Also here in front of us you can see the statue of Jan van Eyck. Jan van Eyck is our most famous Flemish primitive painter from the 15th century. He also invented oil paint. So this part of the water here, this is called the Spinola Rey, named after a very important Spanish general who used to live here back in the days. And then here on your left, ladies and gentlemen, again you can see a very nice example of the typical staple houses. And then right next door, a very nice example how not to build your house in the historic city center. They don't like me. But here on your left you see the British Consulate from the 19th century. Nowadays it's a school and it's also for sale. So if you guys are looking for a little place in Bruges, well, now is your time. Needs a little bit of... You guys will see a flag hanging. There you will find the oldest pub in town. It's called Café Vlessingen and dates back to the year 1515, which makes it not only the oldest pub in Bruges, but one of the oldest in Western Europe. Well worth a visit because the interior is still authentic. It's right there where the flag is hanging, Café Vlessingen, the oldest pub in town. And the beautiful house here in front of us, this used to be the house of Audrey Hepburn. They also made a movie in this house with Audrey Hepburn. The movie is called A Nun's Story. So they made a movie in this house first, and after the movie was finished, Audrey Hepburn liked this house so much that she bought it afterwards. Seconds you guys will see a house with windows that are not actually windows. It's because back in the days people had to pay taxes on every window where the sunlight came through. They used to call it the daytime robbery. Also in London and Paris they had taxes like these. So here on your left, the White House in the corner on the first floor, the two last windows and those above. Red and green, that's typical for Bruges. You have to know that back in the Dark Ages people used real ox blood to paint their houses. You also have to imagine the smell over here. And then for the people who are always wondering where they found the inspiration for the logo of McDonald's, well, it was right here in Bruges. I will show you. And then here on your right you will see a beautiful little tea house on the water from the 19th century. Here in Bruges we have 2 little tea houses and 300 pubs. So we know our priorities over here. Nobody comes to Bruges to drink tea. the four red towers on top. This is the old courthouse and palace of justice. The four red towers on top, those used to be the pigeon towers. As you guys know, back in the days, the pigeons were very important to transmit information from one city to another. Nowadays, everybody has an email. Well, back then, it was female with the pigeons. Beautiful building with a wooden facade. This is the oldest hotel in town. It's called the Burgundy Cross Hotel and dates back to the 17th century. It's not the original building anymore. The original building burned down, but they rebuilt it the way it was before. And it was also used in the movie in Bruges with Colin Farrell. It's from this building that Colin Farrell jumps into the water. And then here are the Spanish generals, so they used to live here. Nowadays it's mostly a beer palace because they have more than 1,000 different kinds of beers, so you guys better get started. And from the 1,000 different kinds of beers, Heineken is not one of them. Introduce you here on your right hand side. This is my best friend, Captain George. He's such a good friend, I made a t-shirt of him. That's it. Yeah. And then here in front of us you see the tower of the Church of Our Lady. It's 122 meters high, making it the second tallest brick church tower in Europe. The tallest one is in Germany, in Ulm. Inside the Church of Our Lady you can also find one of the masterpieces of Michelangelo, little statue in white marble named the Madonna with Child. It's the only statue of Michelangelo on the other side of the Alps. Here in a few seconds, ladies and gentlemen, a good time to take a picture. You will see here the tower of the Church of Our Lady, and then just underneath, the beautiful entrance of the Gruuthuis Palace. The family Gruuthuis was the richest family of Bruges back in the days. You could call them the medieval Rockefellers. They became very wealthy on importing grains to make beer, of course. Well, this is the little Bonifacius Bridge. What we here in Bruges, we like to call it the Kissy Kissy Bridge, because on this little bridge, thousands of people have taken their wedding pictures. You see, it's a very romantic spot here in our city. So for the people in love on the boat, you know what to do after the tour. Here on your right you will have a very nice view of the Church of Our Lady again. So is everybody still okay on the boat? Yeah. Nobody's falling asleep, nobody's seasick. Come on. 1876, and nowadays it's a beautiful museum. You guys can visit, you can see how the hospital used to function back in medieval times. And there is also a very nice exhibition about Hans Memling. Hans Memling is also one of our most famous Flemish primitive painters. Attention please, now now it's time to be a little more serious. In a few seconds we're gonna pass the lowest bridge in town. So I'm gonna ask everybody to stay seated to take their pictures. Because it's over here that I lose 10% of my clientele every year. So please stay seated. Everybody stay seated. Watch out for your heads, your hats and your wigs. All of it. Everybody still on board? Yeah, okay. It's natural selection over here. I mean, this is the most beautiful part of the tour. Entrance of the beginnage. We still have 7 Benedict sisters living here on the inside. If you guys want, you can go and say hi to the sisters, but once you enter the beginnage, there is the code of silence, so you can't make any noise. It's very difficult for the Spanish people in here. And here in front of us, this is one of our lock houses. On the other side of this lock house is the Lake of Love, and water is 1 meter higher than on this side. And then here on your left, they had to put a little fountain into the water, and is it that as there is no natural current inside the city center no more, there's not enough oxygen in the water, so they had to put an extra fountain to put extra oxygen in the water. Otherwise, the piranhas would die. And then here we have the beautiful and majestic swans of Bruges. Beautiful and majestic, but sometimes quite aggressive. And you do have to watch out, especially now because they are nesting. The mothers protect their family, it's normally. Also, the swans here in Bruges are very highly protected. Here in Bruges, you kill your mother-in-law, you go 5 years to prison. You kill a swan, you go 10 years to prison.
Good deal.
And the ducks are for in the Chinese restaurants that are a little bit less well. So you may have already smelled it. It smells like beer over here. It's not me, not yet, no. Here on your right, the Half Moon Brewery. This is the place where they brew the Bruges Zot. It's also the only place in Bruges where you can drink unfiltered beer straight from the barrels. What's also very special about this brewery is that beer is brewed over here. It goes through a pipeline underneath the city 3 kilometers further this way where beer is bottled. So the big trucks don't have to drive in the city center no more. So here in Bruges you can literally say that beer floats under our city. Stay seated and watch your heads, because if you look here on this side you can still see a little blood from the group of basketball players we had last week. And then here on your left, this is the Cathedral of Our Savior, very well known for its beautiful tapestries on the inside. It's also the oldest tower in the city. This tower dates back to the 11th century. And then here on your left hand side, in a few seconds you will see a little chapel on the water right next to the old St. John's Hospital. So this little chapel was used to take out the dead people from the hospital, give them their last blessings before putting them on the boat to transport outside of the city where they would be buried. Of course, nowadays we can't do that anymore because we need the boats for the tourists. Ahoy, Captain! ladies and gentlemen, we are back at the Kissy Bridge again. And in a few seconds, look closely on the wall to your left. You will see the smallest Gothic window in the city. It was a little window used to spy on the boats and the people passing by, because back in the days people had to pay toll to pass here. So here on the wall to your left, the smallest Gothic window in the city. So this little window is part of the beautiful Bruges palace that has been completely restorated a few years ago. Nowadays it's a very nice museum you guys can visit. You can see how the rich people used to live back in the dark ages. And now here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to pass the bridge of 3 centuries, so it means it was built in 3 different centuries. Here, this part is the youngest part. This part is from the 16th century. Here we are, 15th century, and this is the oldest part from the 14th century. City map of Bruges made in lace. Watch carefully, it's almost transparent. And as you can see, this one is brand new. That's because it's the 3rd edition already. They stole it twice. Yeah, that wasn't me. Here on your right, the end where the blue door is, this is the entrance of the Groningen Museum. This museum is pretty famous because they have a very large collection of Flemish primitive paintings. Yellow building, this is Hotel de Tuileries. This hotel is pretty famous because the windows on the outside are made out of crystal glass from Venice. It also costs 500 euros a night in this hotel, so you better look at your window.
500.
And here in front of us, you can see the symbol of our city, the Belfry Tower. It's a watchtower that measures 83 meters high. There are 366 steps to climb up. On a clear day like today, you can even see the North Sea from up there. And if you had a closer eye, maybe you saw that the tower is already leaning a little to the right. This means that in a couple of years, we're going to have the 2nd Tower of Pizza right here in Bruges. Another attraction. So ladies and gentlemen, this is also the end of our tour. I hope you guys enjoyed it and that you liked my explications. Thank you very much. If so, you can always leave a small tip on your way out, because you know the captains are always thirsty. For the rest, I wish you a very fine day here in Bruges. We still have a lot of nice things to see and discover. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye bye. Au revoir.
Thank you, Captain Mark, for unforgettable tour. Bruges really looks as Venice of the North.